Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast. I'm Martin. Hello, welcome along. Good evening. I hope you're all well. I'm joined by William and Craig. William, you have been putting in the overtime lately, my friend.
I know, mate. I'm just about to send in my fee just so you can start paying me for it, to be honest.
Self-esteem, my friend, self-esteem. Craig, how are you?
All good, mate. Just had a busy day sorting a few bits around the house and thought I'd jump on here.
You thought that's awfully kind of you. That is awful kind. Build up to the fourth round of the Scottish Cup. Rangers travel to Perth to face St Johnstone. I nearly said St Mirren, but I said St Johnstone. The team line is at the bottom of your screen, so that's what we'll jump straight into, Craig, the starting lineup. No real surprises?
No, I think the only two positions that were really up for debate since the other night were probably the goalkeeping position and whether Jack or Kamara played. So manager's gone with McGregor and Kamara. I thought maybe somebody like Larry might have got a game, but maybe that's more in mind if we're in a good position. Second half, you might get a few minutes.
We've got the benefit. Well, I say benefit. We have the benefit of no midweek games, apart from the odd cup game. William, no European football. Our next game's obviously not until next weekend. Does that have any bearing, do you think, on the manager's team selection?
No, I think he just looks at it as a massive cup game and he puts out what he thinks is his strongest 11. For me, at the moment, that is the strongest 11. I don't really think there's too much kind of argument on it. You know, Ryan Jack comes back in. He was excellent in the cup semi-final. Malik Tillman comes in because he's just one of our best players, quite simply. And I still think Alan McGregor's the best out of the two goalkeepers. So, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer when you look at the starting 11.
Yeah, no-brainer. Just before we carry on, for those of you who are on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, you will have seen the message that I put out to say that from the start of next season, either pre-season or the start of the official season, it just depends on how things go and how quickly we can get things done. The Rangers Rabble will become my full-time job. It has been really successful, really, since we first kicked it off. Listen, we've got a members show tomorrow night where I'll go into a lot more detail. But because of everybody who watches, all the members, all the people who do the super chats, etc., it's been made possible for me to now go and do this as a full-time job. Yes, it will be double the hours of my current job for less money, but it is my absolute dream job. So I'm absolutely ecstatic about that, and thank you to everybody. So with that said, if you do watch quite a lot and you aren't already a member, then please do consider becoming a member. Because literally now my job depends on it. So, go for that. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, etc. Do all the things, share the pod, get it out there to as many people as possible, because the success of the pod depends on you, and the more stuff that we can do depends on everybody who watches and subscribes and joins as members, etc. Craig, the goalkeeping situation. Let's talk about it, shall we, very, very quickly. Michael Beale was already rotating his goalkeepers, but McLaughlin in the last game came in for quite a lot of flack. What are we going to do going forward? Because I don't see a goalkeeper being brought in. Is it feasible for this game, the next game, the game after that, for the manager to keep rotating his goalkeepers?
Yeah, it's feasible. I think throw McCrory in there and we could see all three of them play a decent number of games between now and the end of the season. In my opinion, the manager isn't blind to the fact that we need a new goalkeeper. I think the January window was never going to be the time when he would bring someone in, because it's just not probably viable. I think the summer he really needs to bring a new goalkeeper in who's going to be Rangers number one for 2, 3, 4 seasons, and then sort of fix that. At the moment, he says that he's sort of picking it based on the games. The way that the last couple of games have gone, maybe it's more McLaughlin's going to play more of the league games and McGregor will play more of the cup games. But who's to say that next Saturday against St Johnstone again, that McGregor or McCrory aren't in goal? So I think it is a big problem, but it's obviously not one that's going to be fixed this side of the summer.
Yeah, can I just say a very, very massive good evening to John Batchelor. For those of you who tuned into last night's show, the super chats were outrageous, my friend, and I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you want, and it's up to you because obviously it's your privacy, with YouTube members, we don't have access to email addresses, John. So if you want to stick your email address in the chat, then we'd like to get in contact and have a wee chat with you. But yeah, thank you very much for all your support last night. And support like that absolutely keeps this show going. William, your thoughts then? McGregor back in. What's going on with the goalkeeping department? What are we doing?
I think the manager's basically said that Alan McGregor is the number one. So I think when it comes down to the games that matter, in his eyes, he's going to start Alan McGregor. But I think you've also got to look at the other side of it, is he is 40 and it's probably at times just taking him out of that position. And I do think on certain surfaces over the season or in certain games, it'll just be that John McLaughlin comes in. He obviously spoke prior to the match saying that this type of game, because of the amount of balls that Kilmarnock will put into the box, the amount of crosses, obviously that backfired because the first goal comes for that kind of delivery and John comes out and gets in no man's land. But look, the manager's going to live and die by these decisions between now and the end of the season. And look, you're never going to get through a whole season like without goalkeepers making mistakes. I think it's just become more apparent this year that we're making like mistakes that we shouldn't be. And that's disappointing. But at the end of the day, we've still got two very good goalkeepers, but we've just had such high standards with goalkeepers for the last X amount of years that, you know, at the moment it just feels like we're dipping. But look, Alan's still a very good goalkeeper. And, you know, some of the saves he made at that cup final were massive for us, even while we were playing against 10 men. So, you know, I get the criticism, but Alan is still a very good goalkeeper.
Yeah, he is. Just moving away from the game for 2 ticks, Craig, we had a morning Rabble, and the morning Rabble shows seem to be going along nicely. People seem to enjoy them, so we'll keep them going as long as we can, as long as we've got the availability until I'm in a position to go full time, and then it will be that plus extra. But on that, today, William was on it, Craig, we spoke about Charlie McCann. It looks as if he's on his way out the club. Just very, very briefly on this, because I want to get back to the game, but that came kind of out of nowhere for me. I've watched a lot of the B team this season, and Charlie was certainly one that stood out, and he was somebody who I thought, along with Lowry, had a chance of making it into that first team.
Yeah, I think if someone had said at the start of the transfer window, give us 5 Rangers players that are going to be likely to go, I think Charlie would have been quite low down that list. The little we've seen of him this season, I think someone put up a stat earlier on Twitter. He's played something like 120 minutes across the season, which obviously is nowhere near enough. He's looked good. I mean, the one game he did play for the full 90, the previous manager played him out of position, so he didn't really have his best game. I honestly thought between now and the end of the season, if he was still sticking around, that he would get a good chance of being in the squad and sort of being getting some minutes. But at the end of the day, he's doing what he feels is best for him. First team football, whether that's Forest Green's the right level. Obviously, time will tell, but we'll see in the future.
It kind of explains, William, because I think I actually messaged you or phoned you after the Aberdeen Cup semi-final and says, why did McCann come on before Lowry? I suppose that might have been a kind of last-ditch attempt by Rangers to try and persuade him to stay, because from what I'm hearing, I don't know if it's true, but from what I'm hearing, he was offered a new contract that he turned down.
Yeah, look, I mean, I can only obviously kind of pass on what I've heard and what I've seen just like everybody else today. I like Charlie. I think he's a good box-to-box player. I think he's technically a good player. But you know what I like about it is he wants to go and play football. You know, he's 20 years old. He feels at this stage of his career he needs to be playing football. And to me, that is the most important thing for any young player. You know, okay, like we're at Rangers and we accept that guys come here because maybe they're signing for the club they love, or they stay at the club because they want to be here. But see, at some point along the road, you want to start playing regularly. And if that's not at Rangers, then you need to go somewhere else. For Charlie, it seems like a good move for him. You know, he's going to League One. If he's going to play every single week at that level, I'm sure Charlie will show up well. And it might be that within a year, 18 months, 24 months, that he's on the move to a championship club, and then he's made totally the right decision. So it's hard to sit here and be extra critical. But good luck to Charlie. As he's always seemed like a nice lad. He's come here. I think he's done well for the B team in the Lowland League. I know there's obviously the huge debate about, is the Lowland League enough of a standard? Well, at the moment, that's the best level we can get to because we're not been allowed into League One or League Two or whatever. So we have to accept that's where the players are going to play. But yeah, like the biggest thing for me is just I'm sad to see Charlie go because I thought he had a chance of making it at Rangers.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting you to finish on that note. Andrew McDonald. Excuse me, I just choked on my coffee. Andrew McDonald, new channel member. Thank you very much, Andrew. Appreciate the support. Nicholas Moore, the morning rabble is messing me up in work. My apologies. We'll stop it exclusively for you, Nicholas. We'll stop it exclusively for you. Right, okay. There's a few people asking, we paid, what was it, $750,000 for Charlie. So did we lose money? That's for another day.
We see just like really quickly on that. I don't think we paid that amount of money for Charlie. I think there was a much smaller fee that was paid up front, which was I think over, it was what 100,000, 150,000 was reportedly the fee, and then there was add-ons. So maybe the fact he's played for the first team, etc., all that stuff, it might have become a little bit higher. But I don't think we ever got close to the top fee. So I don't think that's actually true, to be honest with you.
And see, that is the kind of insight that you get on the Rabble. William's probably one of two people on here that actually know what they're talking about. And I don't mean me or Craig. So there we go. Back to the game, William. Same back four picks itself. It's just good to see, I suppose. In fact, let's talk about Tavernier, shall we? I'm seeing Tav. I was going to come to the really happy part, which was Goldson and Davies, because I'm so happy with him. But everyone's talking about it. People say, a few people have says, you don't discuss it enough, so let's discuss it. Tavernier, and from the start, of course, he's a club captain. Of course, he's going to play. Although he seems to be under pressure regardless of what he does.
Yeah, look, Tav has always been a player that split the support, even since he first came in the Championship under Mark Warburton. He's one of those guys who you either appreciate what he brings to the team or you see the negative side of it where he's probably not the best defender, right? So if you look at his attributes going forward, the goals he scored, okay, some of them have came for the penalty spot. You look at the assists, you look at the work rate he puts in during the game, some of the positions he takes up in the final third of the pitch. A lot of the things aren't normal for a fullback. Like fullbacks shouldn't be scoring the goals that Tav does every year. And even like the European run last year, how many times did Tav pop up with a goal that was massive? Then you see the other side of it where he doesn't seem to learn some lessons, that he gets caught out at the back post or he gets caught up the pitch. But you know what? That's how he plays because he's an aggressive fullback. He wants to get forward. And I think, as Michael Beale's said on a few occasions already, you've got to take the good with the bad in terms of how we play. Since Michael Beale's come back, we score a lot more goals, but then that leaves us more open defensively. So I think Michael Beale wants to strike that balance where we can still score a lot of goals, but we don't concede them. And that's kind of where we are with the team at the moment. But I look at that back four, I think that's a back four that can win a lot of games of football and keep a lot of clean sheets. But at the moment, that quite simply isn't the case. We're losing poor goals. And it's something we basically need to stop. Over the season, you're not going to be able to fight back in every single game from 1-0 down or 2-1 down and win them. So it basically needs to change pretty quickly. And I think that's the one thing that we can all agree on. We need to stop conceding poor goals. We
need to stop conceding the first goal as well, because that's going to come back to bite us. Heather, the answer to that is that she doesn't know yet. So I'll let you have a wee read of that. Craig, the other fullback, Borna, comes under a fire a lot and comes under a lot of stick as well. But would it not be fair to say that the recent performances, if we're looking at it from an attacking point of view, which is what the manager wants to do with his fullbacks, because he leaves us exposed at the back, but he wants his fullbacks to push higher up. I mean, it's not out of line to say that Borna's in much better form than Tav, is it? Because he is. He's. In fact, I'll leave it there because I'm going to say something stupid. So yeah, Borna's in better form than Tav. Do you agree?
In terms of his output, I would agree. So he's getting a lot more assists than Tav. But generally, I don't see, and this might just be the people I follow on Twitter and the things I see on Twitter, I don't see as much criticism of Bourne as they do of Tav, which for me is just mind-blowing, because there's been a number of games recently where Bourne has been completely at fault for goals and has sort of been a big part. But that's just the way the Rangers support sort of tends to be. Like William said, Tav's probably split the support since he came to the club. If that's what the manager is seeing and he's happy with that, then great. But I personally can't wait for Yilmaz to be fit, and hopefully he comes back into the team, because the number of times that I'm just like, Borna Barisic is getting ridiculous now.
But he is in better form than Tav. I genuinely don't think that's too out there to say.
I don't think there's much between them, to be honest.
Well, Borna's creating.
Yeah.
Tav isn't. So, yeah, I thought William was going to jump in there with some expert knowledge, but look at him. He looks away. I'm not interested in what you're talking about. Move on to the next thing. All right, William. The next thing is Ryan Jack's back. Obviously, didn't want to risk him on the pitch at Kilmarnock, even though I've got my own thoughts on that. But good to see Jack back in that midfield, because, listen, the last month he's been our best player.
Look, at the end of the day, when Ryan Jack's fit, he's a good player. That's the simple part of that. Like, the other side of it is Ryan Jack doesn't stay fit enough, and that is like the other side of the problem. See if we can keep Ryan Jack fit for a whole season. The rubber midfield's a far better place than what it has been, because of what he brings to the team.
Mm-hmm.
However, unfortunately for Ryan, he just seems to be one of these guys that picks up knocks that keep him out for a month or 6 weeks, and over the course of a season he could miss half a season because of it, and that's obviously the biggest worry. Whether that's to do with like the Scotland duty that he's been on, whether it's to do with the Astro pitch that obviously now the manager seems to look at and decide that certain players are just not going to be playing on those, which yet again is his choice. But obviously you're taking a risk. But with Ryan, in my eyes, if we're putting out our strongest 11, then Ryan Jack's in it, because he is one of the best midfield players we've got. And it'll be interesting if the deal gets through for Raskin and you've got him and Jack in the midfield. I think that's a very strong midfield too. And then if you add in a third who's maybe a little bit more attack-minded, like a Tillman or a Lowry or whoever else, it will be interesting to see how that works, because there's a lot more...
Who does Raskin replace, William? Does he replace Lundstrom?
It's a difficult one to know how the manager's going to set up, because we've obviously changed it a little bit at times. But if we're going to stick with a three, I would imagine it's probably Jack, Raskin and one other. Whether that's Lundstrom, whether that's Kamara, whether that's Tillman. I don't think it's a given that Lundstrom starts in that midfield three. I mean, that's just my opinion, you know what I mean? Other people might disagree, but I think if Raskin signs and the manager obviously seems to like him as a player, there's a lot of chat now that he's passed a medical that, they've basically agreed a pre-contract on him. And at this moment in time, they're just trying to see if they can agree a fee for him to come in this month. If that is the case, then I think at the moment it's probably him, Jack, and Lundstrom who would probably be the three. But ahead of next season, if you add another midfield player that's a little bit more attack-minded, I don't know if you can look at John Lundstrom and say that he definitely starts ahead of somebody like Ryan Jack, because I think Ryan brings more to the team than what John does, but that's just my personal opinion.
But if it's going to be, if it will be Raskin, Jack and Lundstrom, then Tillman's missing it.
Aye, that's what I'm saying. So, like, it's trying to strike that balance where you probably do need that one attack-minded player in that midfield. So that would probably have to be a Tillman or a Lowry or somebody else that the manager decides to bring in.
Which I suppose is why Charlie McCann's away. Probably. And by the way, we've not even mentioned Cantwell, because
I mean, see what I was going to say quickly just on it. We don't know what the manager wants to do in the summer. You know what I mean? Like, at the moment, Lossie, as it currently stands, like, Ryan Jack's out of contract, Scott Arfield's out of contract, Stephen Davis is out of contract, John Lundstrom, I think, has got a year left in his contract. So, I mean, at the current moment in time, we've basically got Raskin and Kamara. Like, they're the team that's, like, sort of basically here beyond the summer at the moment because of a contract, potentially. Because
by the way, I've just seen it in the comment, Tom Lawrence as well.
I mean, this is the thing, mate. Like, we forget that there's guys to come back. Yeah. So I think in the summer it might be that the manager will look at what he has done between now and the summer, and he'll dictate what he wants in that team. And that team might not have Glenn Kamara in it. It might not have John Lundstrom in it. It might not even have Ryan Jack in it. We don't know. We're only guessing at the moment. But like, the one thing that sticks with Ryan Jack is that he helps like the European quota because he's Scottish. So if you need to replace him, you probably need to bring in somebody else to replace him who is Scottish. Whereas if Lundstrom goes, you can just replace him with another like, English player or a foreign player, and it doesn't cause any hassle. Charlie McCann's biggest problem was that he wasn't homegrown and he wasn't Scottish. So for Charlie McCann to be in the European squad, he had to be one of the best 20 or 21 players in that squad, which at the moment he isn't. And I think he's seen that, and that's why he's decided to knock back the new deal and go and play somewhere regularly, which, you know, I don't think anybody can be critical of him doing that as a young player who wants to play first-team football.
Well, yeah. So we were here to discuss the build-up to the Scottish Cup game, which we've kind of just moved away from. Very quickly then, Craig, it's very simple. Win the game comfortably. Don't make too many defensive mistakes. Do not concede the first goal and make it through to the next round. Easy.
Everything that we said on Wednesday night's pre-match. And that within 5 minutes had been completely ignored, and we were chatting saying we might as well have just not done that pre-match because everything we talked about was what Rangers went and did the opposite of. Yeah, we could just copy and paste that from the other night. Don't concede the first goal, get a goal early and wrap the game up. Ultimately, the most important thing for the manager, for the team, and for us is that we get through to the fifth round. Do I want that to be a comfortable 4-0 win? Of course. Would I be happy with a sneaky 2-1 win? Yeah, absolutely. Not sure my heart would take it for the next couple of hours, but I'd be happy with it if we get through, and then we can be in the draw and see who we get next. Hopefully, a home game on a nice day where we haven't got to spend an evening in Perth.
St Johnstone, William, if I'm looking at this correctly in front of me, and you know what I'm like when it comes to reading, have lost each of their last 5 games. They're not in a good run of form. The last game they won actually was 2-1 away to Ross County. So we're coming in to play a team in dreadful form, not playing well. So this should be, and I emphasise the word should, this should be quite a relatively easy night's work for this Rangers.
I never look at it. Yeah, I never look at things like that, unfortunately, in the Cup, because I just see it as a one-off game where St Johnstone could come out and play the best game of the season and they play well. Do you know, that's the thing. Like, our mentality has to be that we continue to play the way that we play, which is to get in the front foot, to be aggressive, and to create chances and score goals. I think when you look at that front three, they're more than capable of creating and scoring goals, which is what we've seen since Michael Beale came in. Fashion Sakala is basically averaging a goal or an assist every other game. So is Alfredo. So, like, you know, those two have really added in terms of the numbers. And then you get Ryan Kent, who recently scored a couple of goals. He looks like he's found his life again, Ryan. He just looks really happy. I think his last couple of performances have been really, really good, really strong in the final third. And see, well, people like it at the end of the day. When Ryan Jack plays well, when Ryan Kent plays well, we generally play quite well as a team from middle to front, and that's an important part of that. But I do think having Tillman back in tonight is also massive as well, because I just think the kid's a great player and he's got so much going for him, and I really hope that come the summer we're able to make that deal permanent.
And just finally, Craig, very quickly, it's good to see Antonio Cholak back in the bench.
Yeah, personally, I think he was probably rushed back when he got injured against Dundee United. I think he should have been sort of more managed better back into the team and on the bench for a few games. So hopefully this is the start of that. He doesn't get rushed back and picks up another knock, because I think he could be quite key second half of the season. Obviously the form before he was injured was phenomenal in terms of his goals. So hopefully he picks that back up in the second half and then has a good end to the season, and then we get the best of him in the summer into next season.
So with all that said then, William, prediction please.
I think it'll be a tight first half, but I think we'll probably go strong in the second half just because that's what we've done so far since Michael Beale's come in. So I'll go for 3-1 Rangers.
First goal scorer?
Fashion.
Craig?
3-0 Rangers and Tillman.
4-1 to Rangers. Davies. I like to go outside the box. I really like to go outside the box.
You should go and put a wee bet on that then, just to throw that money on you.
Nobody ever put a bet on anything I say, because I think I've done like 2 coupons in my life and they've never came up. So, and my missus done loads through the World Cup and she asked me for my opinion and none of them came up. So yeah, everybody, 4 minutes to go until kickoff. Go and enjoy the game. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you to William and Craig. Please do like and subscribe. Likes are massive. Likes on YouTube really, really do share the pod to all the other Rangers fans and fans of other clubs who like Rangers content out there. Say that quickly. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back 5 minutes, 10 minutes after the final whistle to go back over a game that Rangers thoroughly dominated and made it through to the 5th round of the Scottish Cup. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching and we'll speak to you all very, very soon.